Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mr. West's Story Time. Today I will be reading Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 of David Walliam's Codename Bananas, and at the end I will have a little challenge for you to do. So for this first part, sit back and relax, and here we go. So, Chapter 2 is called Muddle. The funny thing about Gertrude was that she was so human and not so human all at once. Thick black hair covered her entire body, like a giant fur coat. Her head was enormous, with a bulging forehead as long as her face. Two unusually large ears stuck out on the sides of the gorilla's head, just above her eyes. Gorillas normally have tiny ears, but not Gertrude. Perhaps that is why the boy felt a special connection to her. Or perhaps it was her warm ginger eyes that flashed with kindness. The gorilla's wide nose was wrinkled like an old lady's. This was fitting, as Gertrude was an old lady. She was 50, positively ancient for a gorilla, but the thought that she was some sweet old dear would be gone the moment she opened her mouth. Fangs. Gertrude had the most magnificent set of fangs, two up and two down. Also not sweet old dearie were her arms. They were nearly as broad as her legs, and her legs were already broader than broad. What's more, her huge tummy was round like a barrel. The things Eric loved most about his best friend were her hands and feet. They were much like his, except they were absolutely humongous. Gertrude might have been the biggest of all the apes in London Zoo, but she was also the gentlest. Sometimes a sparrow would fly into her cage and land on her head. You might think that a gorilla with its incredible strength would crush an uninvited visitor in its hand. But not Gertrude. No, she would treat the little bird like a baby. The gorilla would hold it delicately in her hand and stroke it. Sometimes she would even mimic the bird song. Tweet, tweet! Then she would give the little creature a kiss on the beak. Mwah! All this would delight the crowds who would gather around Gertrude's cage. The gorilla was London Zoo's star attraction. The worst thing about being an orphan was missing being hugged. Eric had lost his mum and dad during the war. They were both good at hugs. Sometimes they would even have a big family cuddle, with Eric in the middle. They called it a muddle. Cuddle and middle. The boy loved those muddles most of all. Feeling the love and warmth of both his parents made him feel safe. Now the war had torn them away from him. Forever. Eric knew he would never have that feeling again. So, when he gazed through the bars of Gertrude's cage, he often wished he could magic his way inside. Then the gorilla could just wrap her big strong arms round him and hold him tight. Gertrude was as big as both his parents put together. Eric was sure she could give him a jolly good muddle. Chapter 3. Party Tricks. Eric had dashed past animal after animal until he finally reached his best friend's cage. To his sadness, he saw Gertrude the gorilla squatting in the corner with her back to the crowd, rocking to and fro. This was not right. Something was very wrong. The old girl was not her normal self at all. Usually she would delight in showing off to the crowd, getting up to all sorts of tricks, especially for a banana. Or two. Or three. Or as many as she could stuff in her gob at once, which was a lot. Gertrude's favourite party tricks included sticking out her tongue, waggling her bottom, beating her chest, saluting like a soldier, putting her fingers in her ears, peeling a banana with her feet, swinging on her rope like Tarzan, flattening her nose right up against the bars of her cage, performing a cartwheel, giving the crowd a royal wave, blowing a banana up into the air with her mouth and catching it again, rolling around in the straw, hooting with laughter, pretending to slip on a banana skin, copying the walk of anyone passing by, especially that of the uptight zoo director general himself, Sir Frederick Frown. The boy couldn't bear seeing his friend looking so sad today. Last night's bombing raid had clearly frightened the life out of her. The crowd gathered around her cage were muttering and moaning. "I paid good money for this! Fat lot of good that gorilla is! What a waste of time!" Eric couldn't get through all the people, so he climbed up on top of a bench and shouted, "Gertrude!" The moment the gorilla heard her friend's voice, she stopped rocking and stood up. Then she leaped onto her rope and shimmied up with ease, using her hands and feet. Once at the top, she spotted the boy over the sea of heads. "Ooh, ooh!" she cried on seeing Eric. Despite it being ear-splittingly loud, you could tell it was a happy cry. And then, the next time I make a video, it will be Chapter 4, Blowing Raspberries. And my challenge to you is, knowing the next title of the chapter, which is Blowing Raspberries, you can draw or write a small paragraph, or however much you'd like, using your year targets. What do you think is going to happen next? So, if you were to write the intro for the next chapter, what would it be? And like I said, you can either draw pictures to show what might happen next, or you might want to write a little paragraph just explaining what you think is going to happen next. And you could actually be the author and write the next chapter if you so wish. So I hope you enjoyed those two chapters, because I thought I would read chapter 2 and 3 because they were quite small. So hopefully the next chapters are quite long, but we shall see. So I hope you stay safe, and I hope you manage to do the challenge, okay? And don't feel like you could just write on a piece of paper and then that's it. You can always send us a picture, like if you do it through to email, you can always send us your creations. So I hope you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful morning if you are seeing this in the morning, and I will see you next time.